All right, so we're diving into It Ends With Us, which I have to say, everybody's talking about this book.
It's everywhere.
It is, and we're going to find out why. You guys have sent in the first 41 pages, and wow, I'm hooked.
Yeah, it gets you right away.
It starts with Lily, our main character, up on a rooftop.
Oh, here we go.
But she's not, it's not what you think. She's not going to jump off or anything.
Yeah.
She's actually just trying to get away from a rough day, which I think we can all relate to.
Totally.
What I thought was really interesting was how Colleen Hoover uses that kind of cliche setting, the rooftop,
Yeah.
to actually set up something way deeper. What do you think?
I think it's a really smart way to, immediately grab the reader's attention. You think it's going to be, a story about despair. But then she pulls you back from that.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, who is this woman? Why is she up on this rooftop?
Mm.
So it just really sets the stage for a story that's full of surprises.
And she throws in right away, literally from the first page, Lily mentions suicide.
Right off the bat.
Which, of course, piques your interest.
Of course.
You're like, okay, what's going on here? And it's clear she's dealing with some heavy stuff, especially with her dad passing away recently and this disastrous eulogy she mentions. What do you think about that? Is it too early to overthink the eulogy thing, or do you think Colleen Hoover is subtly giving us a hint about their father-daughter relationship?
No, I think the eulogy is huge. It's such a small detail, but she just drops that in there, and it makes you wonder. She says she loved him, but she hated him. That's complicated. There are definitely some unresolved issues there, so I think we'll learn more about that later.
Totally. Okay, so speaking of complicated, in walks Ryle,
Oh, boy. Yeah.
our other main character, and his entrance is not subtle at all.
No, not at all.
Kicking furniture, lighting a joint. This guy's got some anger. What'd you think when you first read that?
Hey, it's intense,
Yeah.
especially because it's on a rooftop. You'd think it'd be peaceful.
Right.
So it makes you
Yeah.
wonder, what's going on with this guy?
What-
What led up to this moment? Is this who he is all the time, or is it a one-time thing? I think she's trying to make us a little uneasy.
Yeah. And then she throws in, oh, and by the way, he's a neurosurgeon.
I know.
Talk about a job that requires, precision and control.
The irony.
Right. And here he is, fuming. What do you make of that contrast?
It's like he's got this whole other side to him. He's this amazing surgeon, operates on brains, but then his personal life seems a mess. How do those two things even coexist? It makes you really curious about who he is deep down.
I know, right? And it seems like Colleen Hoover really wants us to see these characters as, real people with all their complexities, even from these very first interactions. So one thing I noticed popping up a few times is this idea of naked truths. Can you explain to our listeners what that means and why you think she chose that phrase?
Yeah, Naked Truths, it's like she's setting the stage for some serious honesty between these characters. They're going to be brutally honest with each other, even if it's awkward or painful,
Right.
which can be tough, but also really refreshing in a way,
Yeah.
And it leads to some intense moments, like when Ryle tells that story about the boy who died.
Oh, yeah.
So sad, but he's telling it in such a factual way, like he's emotionally detached from it.
It's like he's shutting down any real feelings about it.
Exactly. And that's a big clue about how he deals with trauma.
And then we've got Lily's disastrous eulogy that we still don't even know about. So we've got both characters dealing with loss, but in completely different ways. What do you think this says about how open they are with their emotions, their vulnerability?
I think you hit the nail on the head with vulnerability, because it's almost like we see that as weakness.
Yeah.
But to be truly vulnerable with another person, to really let them see you, that takes guts.
It does.
And it seems like Ryle's really good at pushing those feelings down. He doesn't want to deal with them. Whereas Lily, it's almost like she's embracing the messiness of it all.
Totally. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. There is some serious chemistry between Lily and Ryle.
Okay.
Even though they seem so different,
Definitely.
there are sparks flying everywhere, and they both seem kind of powerless to resist it. What's your take on their connection? Do you think it's the real deal, or is there something else going on?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Uh-huh.
On the surface, you've got this classic opposites attract thing happening.
Right.
Lily's a little intimidated by him, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And maybe Ryle's drawn to how open and real she is, But there's also this shared history of loss, even though we don't know all the details yet. I think that connects them on a deeper level.
And that scene on the rooftop where they almost kiss,
Oh, yeah.
but then Lily backs off. Why do you think she does that? Is she playing games, or is there something more to it?
I don't think it's games. Remember when she says, "I'm not that kind of girl"?
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like she's been hurt before,
Totally.
and she's trying to protect herself.
It's like she wants to be with him, but she's scared.
Exactly.
And then we get to those journal entries, which I love.
The best.
And she's writing them to Ellen DeGeneres. What do you make of that?
So good.
Yeah.
Okay, those journal entries are everything. They're like so raw and honest.
Right.
And I love that she's writing to Ellen because it's like, Ellen's all about being yourself and embracing who you are.
Yeah. She's like the queen of vulnerability.
Exactly. And I think Lily's looking for that same kind of acceptance.
Totally. It's like having a conversation with your best friend.
Totally.
And speaking of friends, we meet Atlas through her journal entries, and he seems like a bit of a mystery man.
Yeah, we don't know much about him yet.
But he just kind of appears out of nowhere, and Lily lets him take a shower at her place. What were your first impressions of him?
He's definitely intriguing.
Yeah.
He's homeless, so you feel for him right away.
You do.
But he's also got this quiet strength about him.
Yeah, like a really calming presence.
Yeah. I don't think he's just a random character. He's going to be important.
I agree. And there's that line he says, "Plants and humans are alike. They both need to be loved the right way to thrive." What a line. What do you think he means by that?
It's such a simple statement, but it's so true.
I know, right?
Like we all need different things to thrive, just like plants need different amounts of sunlight and water.
Yeah.
And it's the same with love. We all need to be loved in a way that nourishes us, that it helps us grow.
It makes you think about how you're loving the people in your life,
Sure.
And it's so powerful coming from Atlas because, at least right now, he doesn't have a lot.
Exactly.
It shows that even when things are tough, you can still find beauty and wisdom.
Absolutely. And I think that's a big part of what draws Lily to him.
Totally. Okay, so Lily opens her own flower shop, which is so exciting.
I love that for her.
It's like she's finally found her calling.
Totally.
But of course, at the grand opening, who shows up?
Oh, no.
Ryle.
I knew it.
And he doesn't come alone. He brings his friend Marshall. Talk about awkward.
It's like he's trying to impress her or something.
Right, like, look at me, I'm successful, I have friends. But, he said he wasn't looking for a relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's his deal?
I don't know. It seems a little shady to me.
Right.
Like he wants to have his cake and eat it too.
Yes. And guess what? They sleep together.
Oh, boy.
But even then, it's kind of, I don't know, not exactly romantic.
No.
What do you think Colleen Hoover's trying to show with that scene?
I think it's about how complicated intimacy can be.
Right.
Like, on paper, they're both adults. They both consented.
Yeah.
But it's clear that Ryle's still not emotionally available.
Totally.
And Lily's trying to figure out what she wants.
It's messy.
So messy. And then, of course, to make things even more complicated, she runs into Atlas again.
I know. Working as a waiter at the restaurant where she's having dinner with Ryle. What are the chances?
It's like fate.
Right.
I think it's there to make Lily question everything.
It really is. Like, what are the odds?
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't write this stuff. So where do you think this leaves Lily emotionally? She's got Ryle back in her life, but now Atlas is back too.
Oh, she is so conflicted,
Yeah.
On one hand, there's Ryle. Passionate, exciting, but also a bit of a mess.
And kind of scary, to be honest.
Yeah. And then there's Atlas. He represents like this simpler time in her life before all the drama.
Yeah, like a safe space.
Exactly.
And then, of course, she finds out she's pregnant with Ryle's baby.
Talk about a game changer.
Right. And their relationship, well, let's just say it's a roller coaster. There are these really intense highs, but then these devastating lows. And we find out that Ryle, he can be controlling, even possessive. And it gets physical. That was a really tough part of the book to read.
It is. It's hard to read, but it's important,
Yeah.
Colleen Hoover doesn't sugarcoat the reality of domestic abuse.
Yeah.
It's not okay. And there's no excuse for it.
No, absolutely not.
And I think what she does so well is show how conflicted Lily feels because she loves Ryle, or at least she thinks she does.
Yeah.
But his actions are hurting her.
It's heartbreaking, and I think it's something a lot of people can relate to, unfortunately. And it's so hard because on the one hand, you see the good in the person and you want to believe they can change. But on the other hand, you're scared,
And you have every right to be scared.
Yeah. And then there's a whole pregnancy thing.
Which makes everything even more complicated.
Right. So what does it say about Lily that she stays as long as she does? Does that make her weak?
No, not at all. Leaving an abusive relationship is never easy.
Yeah.
There's so much going on emotionally, financially, and sometimes physically getting away is dangerous.
Right.
And with a baby on the way, it's a lot.
It is. But thankfully, she does leave.
She does.
And she goes to Atlas.
It's such a powerful moment. Like she finally chooses herself
Yeah.
and her child. She's breaking free from this cycle of abuse, and it's really inspiring to see.
It is.
And turning to Atlas, I mean, it shows how important it is to have a support system. You don't have to go through tough times alone.
No, you really don't. And you see Lily starting to rebuild her life, you know? She's got her business, she's got Atlas, and she's about to become a mom. But things with Ryle are far from over. He wants to be a dad to their child, which, I mean, makes sense, but Lily's obviously hesitant.
Rightfully so.
Totally. What did you think about how Colleen Hoover handled that whole co-parenting thing?
I think she did a great job of showing how messy it can be,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Even when both people have good intentions, there's still hurt, there's still baggage,
totally.
and it's a process figuring out how to make it work for everyone, especially the child.
Absolutely. So without giving anything away, because I know some people listening might not be finished with the book yet, what are your final thoughts on the ending? Did you think it was satisfying?
I loved the ending. Yeah. I mean, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but it feels real.
Yeah.
Lily goes through so much, but she comes out stronger on the other side.
That's so important.
Right. And she learns that she deserves to be loved, to be treated with respect.
She deserves all the good things.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so everyone listening, if you haven't already, definitely check out It Ends With Us. It's an emotional roller coaster, but it's so worth it. And tell us, what parts of Lily's journey resonate most with you? What are you taking away from this deep dive?
I think Lily's story is a reminder that no matter what you've been through, no matter how broken you might feel, there's always hope.
Oh, I love that.
You're stronger than you think, and you deserve all the love and happiness in the world.
I think that's a beautiful message to end on. And with that, this has been our deep dive on It Ends With Us. Until next time, keep reading and keep those amazing book recommendations coming.